Hello everyone, I am working today on the garage deck, which it feels like it's been a while since I've been working out here because I've been so focused on the rooftop decks. But today I'm planting up something that is also going to be in the Proven Winners Gardener's Idea book for next year. This is a privacy screen. So we luckily have really great neighbors, but our garage decks, I could literally step from one of our decks to the other. So when people are outside, even if you like each other, it's not like you necessarily want to always be staring at each other when you're both just a few feet away. So I'm gonna create a privacy wall with Proven Winners plants. So let me go ahead and show you what we're gonna do. I've already planted up 2 of them just to make sure I liked the plants that I chose. I will show you the containers I'm using and then go through all of the plants and we'll get this planted. This right here is going to be the privacy wall. I'm using 4 of the Aquapot lights. So these are self-watering containers, which is good because I don't yet have irrigation up here, but I do have at least a good amount of self-watering pots. Each pot is obviously on wheels. And then in the pot itself is a trellis. I had these trellises upstairs last year, I think, but now I'm gonna use them to create a privacy wall. And what's going to be the main plant that is creating the privacy is probably one of my top 5, if not top 3 favorite plants, but it's the Coconut Appeal Black-Eyed Susan Vine. So let me take you up close to the ones that are planted and I'll talk a little bit about what I put in there. I will go through the individual plants and then we'll get the other 2 pots planted up. These are the 2 pots that obviously are already planted. The one on the right was planted about a week before the one on the left. So you can see it is a little bit further along, especially with the Black-Eyed Susan Vine. But I chose these colors, which is interesting because, so this deck is more black and white, whereas my rooftop decks are more brown. So I'm being drawn to colors and plants that I probably wouldn't be drawn to up there, but that I absolutely love down here. So we have some climbing plants, some trailing plants, some plants that I'm hoping just weave themselves throughout the container. So I'm gonna go over the individual plants with you now, and then we'll put everything into the pots. I'm gonna start with what's planted at the back of the pot and then work my way forward. But this right here is the Coconut Appeal Black-Eyed Susan Vine. Now this one, they sent to me specifically to use in these pots. I don't believe this size container is available at Garden Center for retail. It normally comes in a smaller container than this, but this is giving me a huge head start. Also, I'll show you at the end of the video, but I have a lot of this around other parts of this deck, just hoping that the vines cover everything that they can. So this plant can grow between 60 to 96 inches. It is also full sun to part sun. I have one, this one's definitely going to be full sun. I have one that's kind of in part sun, maybe pushing part shade. So I'm gonna see the difference in the flowers and how much it grows. But I'm expecting these ones to completely take over the trellis that's behind them. There are spacing recommendations on all of these plants, which I will be ignoring and basically planting them all right next to each other. Because I'm using self-watering containers, I'm a little bit more comfortable packing everything in there because the water reservoir is always going to be filled. I fill it probably about once a week. So it's going to take up water as it needs. I don't worry as much about self-watering containers drying out unless I completely forget about them. But these are going to be stuffed to the brim with plants. Next up in the back row that are going to go on either side of the Black-Eyed Susan Vine is this Plum Dandy Alternanthera. This one is gonna grow in more of a mounding shape. The only plant that I think is gonna grow up the trellis, unless I'm surprised, is the Black-Eyed Susan Vine. So this is gonna create a mound right next to it on either side. Height that it'll get to is about 10 to 16 inches. Again, we are ignoring spacing requirements, but these are also going to be full to part sun. And this is definitely a color that I wouldn't normally go towards, but for some reason, I just really like it with all of the black metal that's out here. Moving on to the second row, which is also the middle row in the pot. In the middle of the middle is going to be the Diamond Snow Euphorbia. I love this so much. My hope for this one, I don't know if it's gonna work this way, but my hope for this one is that it kind of starts to climb throughout all of the other plants and you just see little bursts of white poofs. So we'll see how they all grow. Again, the one, I'll take you again to show you the one I already planted. It feels like it's kind of starting to do that. So I am hopeful. This is also going to grow in a mounded shape. This one, I think it's 12 to 18 inches. Obviously the only thing it's gonna be in front of is the Black-Eyed Susan Vine, which will get much taller than that, so it won't be blocked. But I just absolutely love, these plants just look very whimsical and magical to me. This is also full to part sun. In the middle row, but on either side of the euphorbia, is one of my favorites that I've grown for the last 2 years now. I think it might have been new 2 years ago, but this is the Campfire Marshmallow Bidens. I just think these are the sweetest little flower, and I had pretty much consistent blooms on them when I grew them. I don't think any of these plants you have to deadhead. Let me check the tag on this one. Nope, deadheading not necessary, which is great. So I really love this plant. This is going to be tucked again on either side of the euphorbia. Also a mounded shape, and this one will get to 18 to 14 inches tall. Now we are moving on to the front row of the pot where I'm going to place my trailing plants. And right in the center is going to be the Supertunia Mini Vista White. I love Supertunia Vistas. They are my favorite. This one, I mean, ever since, so I've had these probably sitting on the deck for a month, just always full of these white blooms. Now, will the budworms get it? I don't know, but I'm going to take as many photos as possible of this before they do get to it. This one is also full to part sun. It's a mounding trailing, so I'll have a little mound of color and then it's spilling over the front. And this will get to between 6 to 12 inches. And the final plant that's going to go on either side of the Supertunia Mini Vista is the Proven Accents Sweet Caroline Medusa Green Sweet Potato Vine. This is also a mounding trailing. It gets about 6 to 12 inches, full to part sun. I think this combination of plants is going to look really pretty. So I'll talk a little bit about how I decided which plants to use and where to use them. I knew I wanted to do just like the purpley color, green and white. I wanted to keep it fairly simple. Now the little black circle that is inside of the Coconut Appeal Thumbergia is actually more of that really deep purple. So I knew those matched and I knew that I wanted them to go next to each other. They also happen to be the tallest plants. And then I kind of worked my way down height-wise. I also made sure that I placed mounding or climbing plants in the back and then the trailing plants to hang down in the front. So now let me give you more details on the container I'm gonna use, and then we're gonna get all these planted. So this here is the Aquapot Light. I've had these for a few years now, but they are light, which means I can easily carry them up and down. I even carried these up to the rooftop deck for the last few years. They're light when they're empty. However, once they get full, it is a little bit harder to move them around, which is why I've put, again, everything in my garden on wheels, because I think it will also be nice. Our space isn't huge, but maybe we want to move these like over there to have more people at the table, but these can be mobile and I can set them up how I want them. But for the most of the time, they'll stay here. And then I have this trellis that I've had, again, for years from Amazon, that once I put the dirt in, the trellis will go into the pot. Now, let me show you how the self-watering works. This is what it looks like right now with everything in it. So when I fill it with soil, you want to make sure that you pack soil into that center because that's where it's going to wick the water up. So you don't want to have a lot of air pockets. But let me take this out. There's already water in there from the rain. And I will show you how it all goes together. So without anything in it, it's just a regular pot. There is a drainage hole at the bottom. I would probably add a couple more if I was going to use it as a regular pot, but it would be much larger if I chose to use it this way. Probably if I was doing like a perennial, I would switch up the pot to use it like this, but I just plan to keep using annuals in these self-watering containers. Now, if you get one that's square, this is the only reason you would have this piece. I don't know if it's most of the pots, but at least some of the pots are round. So you wouldn't need that piece in there. And then you actually have the self-watering mechanism. The first thing you have to do is put this basin in. You want to put that in because if you don't and you just put the pot on top, it's not going to self-water. Not like I accidentally did that to one of the pots and then had to completely take it out and replant it. But just so you remember, that goes in first and then this goes in. And this round part you can buy separately and put in any pot. I mean, I think you can probably buy the square part separately and put it in any pot as well. So I can use this to turn any pot into self-watering if I wanted to, but I mean, it fits these, so I'll probably just continue to use them in these. This blue flower part will pull up above the soil. I do like that it's blue because it makes it easier to find. It will be covered in plants, so I don't worry too much about the blue poking through. But then this is where you fill it up. And that's it. Then it self-waters. When you do plant it first, which we're gonna do, you wanna water in from the top as well, but then after that, you can pretty much just water through here. This last one here is the only one I haven't filled with soil yet, mostly because I was making sure I had enough soil for all 4 of these, but I did want to leave one open to show you what it looks like. So I'm going to pour the rest of this bag in, which will definitely not be enough, but I'm going to empty the open one out first. And again, just packing down the soil with my fist in the center hole. Now I'm gonna fill it almost all the way up to the top, but I am gonna leave some room for compost. I'm putting in some slow release fertilizer for flowers. And what's also great about this is you can put some of the slow release fertilizer into the watering hole and it will slowly dissolve and then fertilize your plants as it sucks up the water. So I will probably do that as well, just put a little spoonful of it in there. Next up, I'm gonna add just about an inch of compost to the top. And usually, if I do have other bags of compost or compost from my compost tumbler, I will apply it to containers throughout the season. Same thing with granular fertilizer. I'll just go in and shake some maybe like once a month into my raised beds and pots. I'll bring you up close while I plant this first one. So again, this is not a size that is commercially available. This one does have a little trellis in it already. The normal size containers that you get at the store will not, but you do want to leave the trellis in because this plant is already tightly wound around the trellis that it came in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to center it right up against the back. Stick it in there. Oh, I need to put the trellis in. This one. There we go. So that plant is right up against the back, and then I'm sticking the trellis it was planted with, the plastic one, in there as well. And then I'm just going to start weaving some of these vines around to give them a head start. These are the Plum Dandy Alternanthera, and these are going right up against the back on either side. So one in here, and yes, all these plants are basically touching each other already. Another one on the other side, and this one is actually getting tucked behind, or to the side of, I guess, the blue flower spout that you fill up with water, because there is a little bit of space on that side. Diamond Snow Euphorbia is in the center here. Then a Campfire Marshmallow Bidens on either side of that. Front and center is the white Supertunia Mini Vista. And then in the front corners is a Sweet Caroline Medusa Green Sweet Potato Vine. Oh my gosh, look at them. This makes me so happy. I love both the planters and the fact that it's going to give us just a little bit of privacy. I'm very, very excited to see how this goes and to see how it grows. Next, we water, and I'm going to water from the top just like I would do with any other regular pot. Again, this is probably the only time I'm going to do it. Maybe I'll do it twice, but these plants already have a pretty good root system, so they should be able to absorb the water that's coming up from the bottom. And now I'm going to fill up, again, that little blue flower is the tube that goes into the self-watering basin. Now, I do have some other self-watering pots that have some sort of indicator to let you know when it's full. This doesn't. I either wait to see water come out the drain hole at the bottom, or I listen, because when you fill a bottle up at the sink and it makes a different sound when there is more water at the very end than it does at the beginning, I kind of listen for that as well. I'm just starting to hear the sound difference now. So I know I'm close. All right, I think that one is good. And here we are. Obviously, the two that I just planted up don't look quite as full as the ones that have been planted. And for me, when I first planted the Black-Eyed Susan vine, I thought I had destroyed it because it kind of looks like this, where it's just kind of a mess. But I'm glad I planted some early, because this does show that it does find the vines, or it does find the trellis pretty much on its own. So I think this one's about 2 weeks head start. This one is about a week head start. So these two should look like those two very soon. For some reason, I have chosen the hottest day of the year so far at 12:30 to come out and plant. But at least I am thankful for the shade that we have out here. It's even hotter on the two rooftop decks. I am really happy with how those are turning out. I think I might put some smaller pots in front of those just so it doesn't look like a row of pots. I don't know, give it a little bit more dimension, but I'm really happy with the combination. I'm happy with how it's starting to fill in. I'm happy with the Coconut Appeal Black-Eyed Susan Vine. Black-Eyed Susan Vine, common name, Thunbergia is a scientific name. I go back and forth because even though I think Thunbergia is harder to get in your brain, it is a few syllables shorter than Black-Eyed Susan Vine. So Thunbergia, Black-Eyed Susan Vine, same. So let me show you where else I've put the Coconut Appeal so far. Yeah, I went a little crazy, but these are all the normal sized ones that you can buy in store. So first up, right next to the pots we just planted, is this one pot with one plant. And please ignore the plants in here that are definitely on their way to dying from root rot, but I refuse to admit that they are too far gone, even though they definitely are. But this one is already doing what I want it to, which is climb around the railings. So I just imagine railings full of vines and white flowers, and then if it goes all the way over here, then it'll kind of connect to these, and I just think that will look really, really pretty. Oh, I also wanted to mention, this little contraption is a plant trap. I have another one that I'll show you that gives you a little better angle, but this is how I'm able to get plants on ledges that you wouldn't otherwise be able to have on a ledge. Like that pot that it's in is too thick to just rest on that ledge. I do have them on either side of these pots next to the rose because I wasn't sure how fast the rose was going to climb, so I wanted to put something in there that would grow a little bit faster. They are having more of a hard time clinging onto whatever this material is, but I did try to use some masking tape on some upstairs, and that seemed to help guide them along. So if these don't start to climb, then I will do that with those as well. But there, yeah, two in this one on each side. I'm now on the walkway that leads to the main part of the garage deck, and I have two in this pot, which honestly, I probably should have just done one. Well, we're gonna see how this goes, but I want it to do the same thing that the other pot is doing on the railing that I showed you, where I want this to start climbing around. It has been a little bit windy, but I'm hoping that will start to grab onto that pretty soon. But this is another example of that plant trap that I have. This is the ledge planter. And then there's little metal stakes in there so that the planter doesn't fall off. The last Thunbergia are in these two pots, which I just, again, hope that, oh, they are already training themselves to climb up the railing. Because again, I'm thinking, you come out, you walk to the garage deck, and there's just trails of white flowers leading you down. So I don't know, we'll see if they stay happy in that size pot. I do plan to fertilize them quite often, and I'm just hoping to have a whole garden covered with the Coconut Appeal Black-Eyed Susan Vine. So that is the only project I'm working on today because it is too hot, so I'm gonna go escape back inside. But I think I've said this a million times, I really love how that turned out. And I'm excited to see if I can play around with, moving the plants around on wheels. The only thing is if it starts to climb onto the railing, then I won't be able to move it, but I do want it to mostly just climb up the trellis that is in the pot, so is mobile as I wheel the pot around. So let me know if you have any questions. I will for sure keep you updated on the growth of all these plants, especially the Thunbergia, and I will see you in the next video.